Bitcoin has crashed to 114K as of this recording. According to the history of how Bitcoin has performed in August, it looks like we could be in for a rough month. I mean, and it gets worse. Someone stole Satoshi.
That's it. I've had it with this dump. We got no food. We got no jobs.
All right, Lloyd, chill out. But it gets worse. China has officially banned all mining, trading, and any financial services related to crypto for the 1,000th time. And the Fed has shared exactly how they're going to pay for renovations.
How are you going to get the $2.5 billion to renovate the Federal Reserve building?
Well,
Okay, that's a joke. I wanted to inject a little humor because anytime that we have one or two bad days, everyone thinks that the world is crashing, but the world is healing. And I have so many examples of how the world is moving towards a Bitcoin standard that have happened just this week. If you don't believe me, I'll show you. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go. Despite all the doom and gloom news out there with Bitcoin's price crashing to above where the all-time high was for 6 months that we were stuck at 111K, the world is actually healing. Case number one, Congress is starting to hold our unelected officials accountable, starting with the Fed.
The Federal Reserve has grown too powerful, too insulated, too comfortable, and they are operating in the shadows. And this is the minimum we can do to start getting this independent agency some scrutiny. They don't even respond to FOIA requests. You can't get an answer. That place is whack-a-mole. If you try to talk to the Fed chair about something, they'll put it on the vice chair for banking supervision, who will put it on the presidents of the Federal Reserve banks, who put it back on the White House, who put it back on bank supervision, who put it on the lawyer for bank supervision. This place is a ping pong ball when it comes to trying to get an answer to a question. It's become a giant black hole of unaccountability. It's time for change.
This unelected shadow group of 12 private bankers run the world. They set the interest rates and control the quality of life for people like you and me. They dictate backdoor money flows to other central banks, other countries, other governments, without any of us even being able to know, with their numbers disclosed in accounting jargon. That's a positive step. Next, Congress is finally making sure that our elected officials are held accountable, like them not being able to trade stocks and benefit from it. What a novel idea.
As the president said in the Roosevelt Room yesterday, conceptually, he of course supports the idea of ensuring that members of Congress and United States senators who are here for public service cannot enrich themselves. And the reason that this idea to put a ban on stock trading for members of Congress is even a thing is because of Nancy Pelosi. I mean, she is rightfully criticized because she makes, I think, $174,000 a year, yet she has a net worth of approximately $413 million. In 2024, Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio, this was a fascinating statistic to me, grew 70% in 1 year in 2024, and her portfolio outperformed every single large hedge fund in that same year, and even more than doubled the returns of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway.
Somehow now, Nancy Pelosi is a proud supporter of not being able to trade stocks and says that it's in the best public interest as a public servant to serve the people without trading stocks. Still a positive sign. The world is slowly waking up to holding Bitcoin as a better asset, starting with a flood of publicly traded companies who understand the true value of Bitcoin as a digital asset and digital credit.
The nice thing there is there's 160 companies that are capitalizing on Bitcoin in the public market, up from about 60 last year. So the Bitcoin treasury movement's exploding, and companies like MetaPlanet in Japan and Capital B in France and Smarter Web in the UK, and then there's a raft of them in the US, Anthony Pompliano's company, and 21, they're all capitalizing. The big idea is I take digital capital, I issue digital credit, and a digital credit instrument can either be longer duration or it can be higher performance. We're offering 9% dividend yield with Stretch. The average money market's 4.2% dividend yield. No one would ever want to give a 9% perpetual, yield in a bond that's backed by real estate or backed by gold or backed by any conventional fiat asset. But we're investing in Bitcoin, and my 20-year forecast for Bitcoin is 30% a year ARR. So it's easy for us.
This is the first opportunity for them to legally hold an asset that is liquid under the SEC rules and guidelines, which opens up the floodgates of possibilities. I mean, you could hold gold and real estate on your balance sheet, but they're illiquid assets. Not good for a publicly traded company.
No, that all these companies, instead of holding cash or treasuries, they would all hold their money in Bitcoin. If that were true, what would that do to the U.S. government and its ability to operate?
Well, I think the key to keep in mind is Bitcoin is demonetizing foreign real estate, private equity, public equity, other sorts of store of value assets everywhere in the world. 20th century physical analog assets are becoming 21st century digital assets. These companies like Apple and Microsoft, if they could buy the S&P index, they'd be better off. It's against SEC rules.
Right.
If they could buy each other's securities, if the Mag 7 could buy each other's securities, they would be better off. That's against SEC rules. The only security Apple can buy is Apple stock. And what do? They buy their own security. So in general, if you're trying to create shareholder value, you don't want to park it in a fiat currency. You want to park it in a tangible asset. But gold and real estate don't make sense.
Did you ever see?
Speaking of the SEC, Chairman Paul Atkins just reiterated his belief in Bitcoin by saying this: the right to have self-custody of one's private property is a core American value. I believe deeply in the right to use a self-custodial digital wallet to maintain personal crypto assets. What a radical thought. What's yours is yours, and you have a right to it. That's a positive sign. Another positive sign? Liquidity is coming.
One interesting correlation has been Bitcoin and the money supply. Yes. Is that integral? Like, hey, we've got the chart. It's pretty easy. You don't have to be a chartist to see, okay, they kind of trade in tandem here.
Well, one thing we know is that they're going to continue to debase, and liquidity has been at all-time highs, and that's largely because we're running these massive fiscal deficits. And guess what? They're going to continue. The projections made for the rest of the year is that we're going to be basically issuing about $18 billion worth of debt per day for the rest of the year, for the rest of 2025. So the thing you need is the one thing immune to currency debasement, immune to inflation, and that is Bitcoin.
So, I've got to
C-Payne and Natalie, always the beacon of hope that we always needed. Before we go any further onto more positive news, let's take a second to thank our sponsors. Our first sponsor being Ledn. If liquidity is coming, if publicly traded companies are piling into the asset because it's a better and liquid asset, then why would you want to trade it? Well, you don't have to. You can use it to fund other things in your life without selling it. Unlock liquidity in your Bitcoin without selling your Bitcoin by working with Ledn, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. And if you don't believe that they have the Bitcoin that they say they do, well, they're the first digital lender to do the proof of reserves. They show the stamps that they actually have the Bitcoin. The process of getting dollars in your account happens in less than 24 hours, and the application takes just 2 minutes. Head over to learn.ledn.io/simply to get started with loans that start at just 12.4% or 0.25% off if you go to that link, learn.ledn.io/simply. Speaking of Paul Atkins talking about your right to self-custody assets and your private property being a core American value, well, you need to actually exercise that right for it to be a lived value. And you can do that by removing your Bitcoin from exchanges. But don't just do it any kind of way. Learn how to do it the right way. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation with the team at thebitcoinway.com, and they'll teach you exactly how to remove your Bitcoin and take self-custody of your sovereign assets and private property the right way. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation by going to thebitcoinway.com/simplybitcoin. Bitcoin is the S&P 500 of the future. And for publicly traded companies, it's the S&P that they can actually own on their balance sheet. But for you and me, we don't have to have an index of the 500 best companies in the United States or across the world. Bitcoin is a global index of all of the liquidity in the world flowing into a more scarce asset. We're moving to a global world, not just a US-dominated world. And so it makes sense that the world needs another S&P 500 to invest in.
I view the investment in First Bitcoin as being the S&P 500 of the future. I've said it repeatedly. I'll continue to say it. In a world where AI disrupts all businesses, every single business will be disrupted by artificial intelligence as we go forward. I just don't feel people have spent enough time on it. What Bitcoin represents is something which is outside the current system. It will continue to gain strength. I think on the last program, I said it would go above 200,000 this year. I still not only believe that, I think there's higher highs for it going forward. I think this is something that people at least need to focus on as a small portion of their portfolio, if for no other reason that I think from a standpoint of what is a certainty going forward, the current existence of the framework we have in capitalism is changing going forward. And if people don't believe it, they need to have some sort of a hedge. And Bitcoin and Ethereum themselves are at least combined a good way to do that.
And here's the thing. So many people conflate crypto and Bitcoin. They're two completely different things. Bitcoin is a protocol without an issuer. It's fixed rules in a game that we can all play. And the foundation of this started 40 to 50 years ago. And it made a huge leap forward with a denial of counter service measure, which was created by Adam Back, which later became Hashcash, which said that we need some sort of computational cost in order to send email so that we wouldn't be flooded with spam. This became the foundation of the proof of work mechanism, which means there needs to be some accountability in the creation of money. The protocol is just math. And this is why it's the only chance that we can have a monetary reset, that central banks can actually be overthrown. It's because there is no war that you can fight against a protocol.
For the next 500 years. Can you explain what you mean?
Sure, of course I can explain what I mean. You have a world where the train is leaving the station. Bitcoin has changed everything fundamentally. And those with coin, or the coiners, versus those without coins, the no coiners, there will be a split in the world and society. And we won't be looking at the world in terms of nation states anymore. I think the nation state becomes passé or disintermediated. Central banks are obliterated. And you have the global tribe of millions of Bitcoiners who have all the money. And then there'll be everybody else who doesn't have it. They'll just be living in a different reality. And that template will be set for 500 years because Bitcoin is perfect money, and it's taken 1 million years to get to Bitcoin. We finally achieved it. And now it's a day of reckoning. If you have no coin, you'll probably be living in the equivalent of hell. If you have coin, you will be living in heaven.
So it really doesn't matter if you steal the statue of Satoshi. If you run the protocol and own Bitcoin self-sovereignly, we're all Satoshi. Forget the noise. There is no doom and gloom. The world is moving to a Bitcoin standard. Don't miss it. And another thing you won't want to miss is coming down to Dallas, Texas from November 11th through November 13th to the Mining Disrupt Conference, the largest mining expo in the world. The Bitcoin Simply team will be down there, and we hope you join us. Use the promo code SimplyBitcoin for 20% off your tickets. There's a lot of positive things happening out there, depending on how you look at it. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Happy stacking.